When a nation is young and still searching for its cultural identity, sometimes it takes the eyes and ears of an outsider to truly capture its spirit, to see the value in the everyday. So it was with Antonin Dvorak and this country we call America. He came to us from old world Bohemia and heard the sound of a new world in the melodies of our downtrodden and oppressed. That immigrant experience, so central to everything about our national identity, became, in Dvorak's hands, the keystone to an entirely new kind of music that would finally give the United States a place in the Western musical pantheon that would never... One moment, please. Hey, I was still using that.
What are you doing?
What are you talking about?
What are you doing?
Setting the scene. I'm conjuring the narrative, whatever.
Well, it sounds like you're conjuring the narrative of Dvorak is an American composer.
Yeah, from Iowa. People love that story. What?
He was not American.
Details, come on.
He was Czech, and he never lived in Iowa.
So?
What do you mean so? These are the facts, Sam.
Oh, come on. Look, have you met America? We are not about facts, Hicks. We are about feelings, and people feel like Dvorak was an American composer. Now, who are you or I to say that he wasn't?
Wow, we are not going down that road again.
Really? Because I feel like we might.
We might, but I'm not going to let you, because I think the citizens of Dvorak's actual home country would take great umbrage at the notion that he was American in any way. I mean, Dvorak was a bohemian through and through, and for a vast majority of his career, his music was a perfect reflection of that heritage. I mean, just listen to this. Dare you to tell me that there's anything remotely American about that?
All right, no argument here. That's Bohemian folk music if I've ever heard it. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Orchestra Hall and to this special Inside the Classics concert, Sommerfest edition. I'm Sam, she's Sarah, and tonight we are going to take you inside the fascinating world of a composer so popular, so universally acclaimed, that one home country could not contain him. So, kidding. We good? All right. So on the second half of tonight's concert, we'll give you a complete performance of Dvorak's Symphony No. 7, the work that transformed him in the public mind from a likable but insubstantial tunesmith into one of the great symphonists of the Romantic era. So that's just a taste of the first movement of our featured work tonight, Dvorak's Seventh, and it marked such a change in his symphonic style that you almost never hear any of Dvorak's first 6 symphonies in the concert hall today, while his 7th, 8th, and 9th have become total staples that are played around the world every single year. And before we can really begin to appreciate what this change in Dvorak's personal approach to composition would mean, we need to talk a bit about how the symphony itself had been growing and evolving as a form over the preceding 100 or so years. And to break it down even further, I want to actually take this down to the level of what had been happening to a single instrumental group within the orchestra, my group, the viola section. So what you should know about the violas is that within the music world, violists tend to be viewed as, shall we say, the slow children. And the reason that this happens is because most of us started out our musical lives as violinists and then pulled a switch at some point, which other violinists, who are, of course, the schoolyard bullies and prom queens of the orchestra, take as a sign of weakness on our parts, when in reality, we mostly switch because we just can't stand hanging out with them anymore. Truth. So anyway, way back in the 18th century, most composers didn't really have all that much of an interest in the viola section, which was only natural because the basic rules of harmony and tonality, they don't really require all that much action in the interior voices, and viola is very much an interior voice. So a lot of 18th century viola parts, even in big symphonies, tend to sound a lot like this. Yeah. And lest you think that we had to go dig up some obscure composer for that, that is Mozart, all right? And there's something else that's unusual about that opening line of the finale. And Sarah, if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't completely left Bohemia behind here.
No, deep down, Dvorak remained faithful not just to his Bohemian roots, but also to folk music at large. In fact, in that opening theme in that last movement, that tonality, while we hear it in Czech music, actually harkens to the neighbors to the south, the Magyars of Hungary. Now, we've talked a lot in Inside the Classics about how melodies take on different characteristics based on which scales they're based on. And until the late 19th century, most melodies were based on two different scales, the major scale and the minor scale. Not very far apart, just basic, traditional, conventional set patterns of pitches. Things get a little more interesting in the Romantic era, and no matter how Austro-German Dvorak is trying to be, these folk tune-influenced tonalities really sneak into his music. In this case, that tune is based on what's called a gypsy scale, so-called because it's used by the gypsy musicians in Hungary. So what a gypsy scale does is it takes a conventional minor scale, which I'll have Tony play now. Here is a minor scale. Which we've heard all over classical music until then. Now, the gypsy scale takes that scale and raises the 4th and the 7th degrees, so it sounds like this. Which is, well, it's more colorful and more evocative and more expressive. And the expressiveness of that scale is what makes that melody so expressive and evocative and colorful. Because if we set that very same tune to a plain old minor scale, this is what it would sound like. Which really, for me, has none of the vividness or the passion of the original.
And beyond any discussion of nationality or folk idioms or Iowa, this really is the core of Antonin Dvorak. His story is one of boundless ambition and hard work, a man born in the humblest of circumstances in a part of the world where class and inherited status were everything, who somehow rose to join one of the most elite groups of artists in the world. And what's truly remarkable is that he did so without ever sacrificing the qualities that made his early music so endearing. He became a true master, but he never forgot the beauty inherent in a simple peasant melody. Or put another way, the warm comfort of home.